On November 12, 1942, in Richmond, California, something impossible happened. A complete cargo vessel, 441 feet long and weighing nearly 28.5 million pounds, the SS Robert E. Peary, was ready to slide into San Francisco Bay. It had been assembled in just 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes. For centuries, shipbuilding was a craft defined by time. Master builders spent 6 to 8 months constructing vessels of similar size. Yet the crew standing back from this hull were not experienced maritime craftsmen. They were former secretaries, farmers, housewives, and laborers who had learned welding just weeks earlier. This single event was a systematic revolution in American manufacturing, one that would shatter every assumption maritime experts held about construction time and industrial possibility. The transformation began on December 27, 1940, when Henry J. Kaiser signed his first shipbuilding contract. Kaiser was an outsider, a 58-year-old construction magnate whose career was in moving earth and pouring concrete for massive dam projects. He had promised the U.S. Maritime Commission he would build 30 cargo vessels for the British government within 2 years, a pledge traditional builders dismissed as the folly of a naive opportunist. Kaiser's lack of shipbuilding experience, however, proved to be his greatest advantage. While examining traditional procedures in early 1941, his team, including Chief Engineer Clay Bedford, realized conventional methods would never meet wartime demands. Bedford, after visiting a Ford Motor Company assembly line, returned to California convinced that ships could be built the same way as automobiles, with prefabricated components installed down a production line. The first true shock to the industry was Kaiser's proposal to eliminate riveting entirely. Conventional construction relied on rivets, heated metal pins hammered through overlapping steel plates, and required approximately 1 million rivets for each Liberty ship, with skilled crews installing perhaps 100 per day. Kaiser proposed using electric arc welding instead, a technique he had mastered building pipelines. Vice Admiral Emory Land, chairman of the Maritime Commission, was deeply skeptical, noting welding had never been proven reliable for hull construction at this scale and citing the British Navy's prohibition on welding for warship hulls. However, desperation drove the decision. German U-boats were sinking Allied shipping faster than traditional yards could replace vessels, which took an average of 230 days per cargo ship. The decision to approve Kaiser's contract was born of necessity, not confidence. The Richmond shipyard rose from the mudflats in less than a year, built by Kaiser's experienced dam and highway crews. Instead of the massive gantry cranes and longitudinal building ways of established yards, Richmond was laid out like a massive automobile assembly plant, featuring vast open areas for prefabrication. Railroad tracks crisscrossed the facility, and overhead cranes capable of lifting entire ship sections weighing up to 150 tons stood every 100 feet. John Riley, a veteran naval architect from Bethlehem Steel, grudgingly admired the design, noting it violated every principle he knew but was clearly engineered for the rapid assembly of prefabricated sections. Kaiser's staffing strategy was equally revolutionary. While traditional shipyards recruited from generations of maritime communities, Kaiser advertised across America, offering high wages and promising to train anyone willing to work. By October 1941, over 10,000 workers were employed in Richmond, with fewer than 200 having any previous maritime experience. Traditional welders apprenticed for 4 years. Kaiser's instructors taught specific techniques for specific tasks in about 2 weeks. Workers only needed to know how to repeatedly weld the specific joints on bulkheads or deck plates they were assigned. The results were astonishing. Construction time for Liberty ships began to fall dramatically. Kaiser's first ship took 197 days, the 10th took 97 days, and by the spring of 1942, the average was 70 days. The core innovation was parallel production. Instead of building the ship sequentially, from keel to deck, entire sections were fabricated simultaneously across the yard. Crews built bow sections, stern sections, engine rooms, and deck houses in parallel. When complete, massive cranes lifted the nearly finished structures onto the building ways to be joined. For example, a conventional shipyard might have 50 workers installing an engine over 3 weeks in a cramped, partially built engine room. Kaiser's approach assigned 200 workers to assemble the complete 140-ton engine and its structure in an open workshop over 5 days, then used a crane to drop the entire assembly into the hull in a single 8-hour operation. Tasks that previously required weeks now took hours. The success led to an informal contest between Kaiser's yards. The race between the Richmond, California, and Portland, Oregon yards became a public spectacle. Records fell repeatedly, culminating in the Oregon yard building the Joseph N. Teal in just 10 days in September 1942. This competitive drive set the stage for the ultimate demonstration. After Vice Admiral Land remarked that the speed record still paled compared to other mass production industries, Clay Bedford took it as a challenge. He proposed building a complete Liberty ship in under 10 days, cutting the record in half. The target was the SS Robert E. Peary. Before the keel even touched the building way on Sunday, November 8th, every major component had been built, inspected, and staged. The bow, complete with anchor hardware, and the stern, complete with propeller shaft and steering gear, were fully welded. The massive 140-ton steam engine had been mounted and tested at the factory. 4 days into construction, the hull was complete, the engine installed, and the deck houses positioned. On November 12th, 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes after the keel was laid, the SS Robert E. Peary launched. It was delivered for service just 3 days later, setting a record of 7 days, 14 hours, and 32 minutes from keel laying to full delivery. Vice Admiral Land, witnessing the launch, summarized the profound change. 6 months ago, I would have called this impossible. Henry Kaiser has made traditional wisdom obsolete. The United States Maritime Commission will now require all contracted shipyards to adopt these methods. Traditional shipyards who had mocked Kaiser now sent engineers to study his approaches. As the president of the New York Shipbuilding Corporation reported to his board, Kaiser had treated shipbuilding as a manufacturing problem, not a craft tradition. He simplified where they sought perfection, standardized where they customized, and the result was ships built in 1/10, the time at 2/3 the cost. By mid-1943, Kaiser's influence had transformed American maritime production. Average construction time had fallen from 230 days initially to just 42 days. America was launching 3 Liberty ships daily, more tonnage than German U-boats could sink. The workforce itself was a devastating challenge to the old guild system. Tens of thousands of women and minorities were employed, often in skilled positions like welding and crane operation. At their peak, in 1944, Kaiser's 7 yards employed approximately 196,000 workers, over 40,000 of whom were women. This democratization of skilled work challenged fundamental assumptions about labor and skill. The impact was vast. Between 1941 and 1945, 2,710 Liberty ships were built across 18 American yards. Kaiser's yards alone produced 1,490 of them. Even the failures, like the occasional brittle fracture from early welding defects, led to rapid improvements that eliminated the problem by 1944. The vessels, designed for a 5-year service life, proved remarkably durable, with many remaining in service for decades. The SS John W. Brown and SS Jeremiah O'Brien, both built in 1942, survive as museum ships today. The methods Kaiser pioneered, modular construction, prefabrication, and welded assembly, became the universal standard for shipbuilding worldwide. When Japan and South Korea rose to dominate world shipping decades later, they built their maritime industries on the foundation of Kaiser's Liberty ship program. As Commander Joseph Kenworthy of the Royal Navy observed, the Americans build adequate ships in weeks. Adequate multiplied by thousands defeats perfection multiplied by dozens. Admiral Chester Nimitz, commander of the Pacific Fleet, later reflected that the Pacific War was won in the shipyards as much as on the beaches. Henry Kaiser's enduring legacy is not just the 1,490 ships his yards produced, but the fundamental transformation of what industries believed was possible. The Robert E. Peary, built in under 5 days, was tangible proof that tradition did not equal truth and that revolutionary improvement required revolutionary approaches. It demonstrated that ordinary people, given training and opportunity, could achieve extraordinary results. The revolution endures today in every modern shipyard and manufacturing facility that prioritizes efficiency and questions whether impossible simply means nobody has figured out how yet.